Yeah, the crawler wild's always bringing me home. Crawler wild's always bringing me home. Crawler wild's always bringing me
Hello,
home.
wild ones, and welcome to another episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. Today, I am so excited to have Kara Daniels here from Deep Root Connections. Very appropriate since, Kara, you're an animal communicator, connector.
Yeah,
So
sorry about that. My dog just had to shake right then.
that's okay. I'm used to my dogs making sounds too. But thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have you and to dive into a little bit more of what you do. And for people that don't know you, if you want to give like a quick, brief background into what you do, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the founder of Deep Root Connections, which is a space where earth, animals, nature, spirit are all intertwined, alive, and communicating. And within that space, I host workshops to help people learn how to communicate with animals and nature. I love just to kind of share the messages that I receive from the nature beings. So I'm an active channel for all of life and nature and anybody else who wants to kind of pop into my space. And I do energy healing. Yeah. Another part of my work is doing some land healing by working directly with the spirits of the land.
That's beautiful. I love that. And that's why I really connected with your page. And I think you're doing such great work. So, um, I've been reading up on a lot of your messages just so I'd be ready for today. And I'd love to get started by, I guess, more of a simple question is like, how do you know that those spirits are the ones, or like, how do you pick up and recognize like what spirits are talking and to you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, what I have learned, at least, and this is how it works for me,
Yeah.
is that all beings have their own energetic signature. So, for example, a collective group of trees has their own unique signature, and then an individual tree will have its own unique signature. And so, through honestly just practice and communicating with different beings and species, I've learned over time to recognize like the who and the what is
Mhm.
presenting themselves to me, as well as a very deep inner knowing and like a soul recognition of, like, for example, Bigfoot came to me the other day and I was like, whoa, this is Bigfoot. I've never met you before, but you're really intense and very clear on who you are. So there's a few components to really knowing who is stepping forward.
Very cool. Yeah, I feel like that. Do you get like a visual as well when you're channeling those energies? Like, is that what pops up the most, or is it just specifically feeling?
Visuals usually come in after I become consciously aware of their essence and energy. So it usually starts with like a feeling within my heart center, and this is going to be really hard to explain, but it's like, when somebody taps your shoulder or like puts their hand on your shoulder to get your attention respectfully. That's
Hmm.
kind of what they do into my heart space. It's like all of a sudden I feel an essence or an energy in my heart. I'm like, okay, they're trying to get my attention. Who is it? What is it? And then I'll kind of expand, feel their soul frequency or their energy. And then when I go into channeling or that deeper connection, I do tend to get a lot of visuals so I can see who I'm talking to and what they look like and what they're presenting themselves as.
Oh, cool. So, would you say there's like a difference for you between like channeling or meditation, or do you use meditation as a tool to get to channeling,
I
or is it
used to.
sometimes separate? It's used to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've spent a really long time honing my skills kind of in the animal communication world on how to tap in. I mean, it used to take me like 30 minutes or longer to actually ground and meditate and actually get into that state of receptivity. Now, when I do my work, I can kind of just enter into that space, kind of like a flip of the switch. So when I'm feeling them, I just like, okay, what do you want? And I just kind of flip the switch or redirect my attention in their space. If I have to go
Right.
deeper, for example, doing land healing, then I'll dive in deeper in the meditative trance. But yeah, it's just
Okay.
like a conversation like you and I are having.
Very cool. Yeah, I just because I find the like the connection part and like how to recognize it also so fascinating too, because I feel like sometimes that part is what maybe people miss on connecting, right? Is like how to do it, how to recognize it, and how to recognize those energies. But I feel like energies are so important and unique and not explored enough. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And I like to approach it as like I'm meeting a new friend. Who are you? What are you? What do you
yeah.
like? And so everything is always an individual. And then it's like, okay, this is your unique essence, and then this is the larger essence of your kind.
Right. I feel like
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. I really liked your whale post. That was the most recent one I was reading too, the humpback whale channeling, and I really loved the messages that came from, and that was, I'm assuming, from the collective humpback whale energies, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. I think they're such powerful animals too, just from like a healing space and what they give back to the earths, and even just the way that they like go and save other animals too, which is really beautiful and nice. And um, yeah, I really love that. And I love that you're able to channel specifically and overall as well too, because I feel like you can get very different messages as well. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. The whales have so much to say, and I will be the first to admit that the creatures in the water are not usually on my radar because I'm a land kind of person. I
Right.
don't like the water. But humpback whales, they always come in so beautifully and so strong, and their medicine and magic and healing capabilities are just absolutely incredible. It's like every single time I connect with them, I'm crying and my heart is healing. It's just the coolest.
I feel like even just like, I don't know, seeing, like, I would love to go see them in person one day, but being able to see wildlife photographers, diving with them, and like bringing that to us when we're looking online, it's just, I could definitely see how they have those type of energies and like how sweet they are, and even just like passionate, and like their songs are, they really bring emotion to people.
They really do.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. One of the things I feel like I was very interested about asking you about was your you said that you've done wildlife conflict resolution as well. So maybe just go in a little bit on how you do that, and then I'll ask you something else about it.
Sure, yeah. So wildlife communication and conflict resolution is kind of its own thing. So, a little bit of my background is I studied wildlife biology and I took this graduate program that was for mediation and conflict resolution for stakeholders. And I was like, I'm never going to use this. Fast forward to today. When there is a conflict with humanity and wildlife, bridging that gap of why the animals are doing what they're doing, why they're where they are, and then the human perspective, it's almost like that intermediary space where we're just explaining what is happening from the other's point of view to find
Right.
some kind of resolution. And sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. It just kind of depends, going back to recognizing that wildlife is their own entity, their own beings, their own individuals, and they have the choice to choose if given all of the information. And it's interesting because you can talk to an animal and explain to them from the human perspective why the human is upset with them and why we're asking them to either like move or relocate or stop the behavior. And they're just like, okay, you humans are really weird, but okay, I guess I get it. And so it's like, it's actually a lot of back and forth between the animal and the person to see if we can find that ground to make amends, to ultimately, my goal is to like coexist
Right.
without harm. So yeah, it's quite an adventure doing those kinds of sessions.
Yeah. Would you say that it's like hard, maybe sometimes for the animal to understand why the human is having an issue, maybe? Right?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they're like, "What are you even talking about?" Or like, "This is my space. Why are you bothered that I'm here?" And what I find actually the most is, especially with the smaller animals like chipmunks or mice, they kind of just don't want to talk or give an animal communicator the time of day because of the way humanity as a whole perceives them as pests, right?
Mhm.
And so I actually find sometimes just diving into a conversation with them is a real challenge. It's like, let me plead my case. Just please listen to me for 2 seconds. Like, I know
Yes.
you don't like people. I get it. Like, you don't trust us. And so that's been a really interesting learning curve, also.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I feel like that would make sense from the animal's perspective, how they can't fully understand us. So that I feel like that's also why I love what you do is to, I mean, even for people that like, let's just say, oh, like, she's a communicator of animals, but I think it's such a great, um, even if you're just looking at it from the animal's perspective, like, it's just taking another way to hopefully, like you said, bridge the gap between the conflicts. And we've already taken so much nature wise from animals. I think it's really important, especially what you do with that and like the land healing and just trying to come together with nature in a much more spiritual and uh, heart connecting way. Because my one friend Sarah, she's also a Reiki healer and she works with wolves.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she's awesome. But she says that one of the biggest changes that um should happen is, or how to get people to connect, is to connect to animals with their heart. Because I feel like sometimes people aren't connecting, or they see themselves as so distant or above animals. And I think that the way through is to connect with the heart and to realize that animals are sentient beings and they have souls, and they have their own and speak their own messages. So it's nice that you're able to hear and understand them, and that you've learned and through your own path.
Yeah, it's really been eye-opening for me. So I've always been deeply connected to animals and nature, but opening up in this way to actually have these two-way conversations has really expanded my connection. And it's like, I wish everybody could experience this because we would not be living in a world that's like it is today if we could all just experience them for their own unique beings. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also feel like too that like there's so many different scientific studies that are done that are, the more that we align with nature, there are benefits that show that. And I feel like maybe sometimes there are just some things about energy that have to be felt instead of just recorded or things like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what's really interesting, I have found over the past year, more and more scientists, botanists are starting to reach out to me and they're like, things are shifting and I'm experiencing things. It's like, I can't actually
It's
talk to my
cool.
colleagues about this. And it's like, yes, we need the scientists to have these experiences because maybe at some point, we can really start to bring this into a cohesive manner where we can bring our experiences into the scientific field and basically prove what we've known all along.
Yeah, that would be so great. And I feel like also because a lot of these people, especially, like wildlife biologists and people that are really focused in the nature aspect of science, have their hearts in the right place too. So I feel like that makes sense that they're reaching out to you, or maybe that nature and those spirits are reaching out to them because they know that their hearts are in the right place and that they can connect with them and see them as, guardians, like you say, right, to help them.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, right. um, what is are there any like how do you find like what animals or spirits that you want to connect with next? Do they just come to you? I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody's always like, talk to this one next. I'm like, it's not, it doesn't work that way. It is. It really is. What I have done is I set my intention to roughly on the first of the month have the next being come forward. Whoever is in alignment at the time, whoever has the message for the greatest good in that moment. And so I kind of just turn my little beacon on and I say, all right, who wants to come forward? And then whoever wants to can. Sometimes there's like almost like a shoving and a pushing of beings that want to come forward. And it's like, all right, y'all got to organize yourselves, try again, come back later. But it really, I don't pick. Every once in a while, there's like three of them that step forward. And I will be like, all right, I'll spread you out through the month or something like that. Like, I give everybody a chance. Because if they're all coming over like together as a unit, like the timing of messages is important to them too.
Right.
So yeah, I never choose unless it's like who goes first.
Right. I guess that makes sense
Yeah.
too with like the alignment of time, like what's important, like why they're speaking when they're speaking too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um yeah, because I found that like are there any animals maybe that you hope would come through or that like you're hoping to maybe work with in the future since like they come to you, but maybe saying out into the universe what you'd like to work with in hopes?
Yeah, I would love to start working with more jungle species.
Very
And
cool.
I keep feeling them, but they're like, no, not quite yet, not yet. I'm like, okay, but I see like a koala over there and an orangutan. Like, let's talk to you all. And then they disappear. So, I kind of just go with it.
Yeah, maybe that's like their way of saying it's on the path, but not
Mhm.
just yet. You see them off in the distance, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like the dinosaurs, which has been an interesting topic. But yeah, they came in about a year or so ago, and then they disappeared on me, and then they came forward and they're like, right now. Right now. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
So,
the dinosaur post that you posted was very interesting. I know that I was listening to it and then I read a little bit about it and I know it's more controversial than you thought because some people don't believe in dinosaurs or don't think or think that dinosaurs are dragons as well.
yeah, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories and whatever. I don't care. I mean, does it really matter? The energy of who wants to come forward is in service to Gaia and is trying to share messages for the greater good. And to me, that is like, I don't really care if you're a squid, a dinosaur, an imaginary whatever. Like, if that is your goal, I'll share you however you want me to present you. And so that's how that went down. Who
Yeah.
knew? I didn't know it was controversy, but whatever. It
Yeah,
is what it is.
I don't I guess I like didn't even think about or really remember that people don't think that dinosaurs exist. But you said that the first time that you experienced them was in Montana, right?
Yep. Yeah, their energies were. I have experienced them multiple times here in different locations. Their energy is just so strong. And we have a lot of outcroppings of fossil beds and timeline gaps, depending on how esoteric you want to go here.
Right, yeah.
Timeline bleeds. Yeah, they're just here, and I can feel them pretty regularly. So,
Do you think with something that I know you said you felt like dragons were more ancient feeling than dinosaurs, but do you think that like because you went to a place where they were kind of more on top of the earth, like that you were maybe able to easily more channel them, or do you think that maybe isn't necessarily a boundary?
I don't know. That's a good question. I can't say I've ever been to a location where dragon energy is like part of their communities. I would
Mhm.
be curious to see like if location does make a difference. I have worked with dragon energy before. I work with them regularly in my land healing. And so, yeah, I mean, to compare would be interesting. All I know is that there's a definite energetic, going back to those signatures, like there's a definite energetic signature difference between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that That makes sense. I feel like because dinosaurs to me seem like reptile and bird, but like I mean, I guess you could say something similar for dragons, but like it does kind of seem different to me too, energetically. Like I'm not like by any means a energetic expert, but in my gut, that's what it's telling me is that there's a difference. But when I was listening to your story and your background, and you said that you saw them while you were visiting there, that's what piqued my curiosity because I feel like a lot of the bones are hidden underneath, and it'd be interesting to think, that like connecting again back to the land maybe brings it forth a little bit more. So
Yeah, that is interesting to think about. I just know that a lot of people reached out to me and they were like, I see them too. I was like, cool. I'm not alone.
yeah. But and like even if like you think they had such a great message though too is
Hmm.
their message was really beautiful and connecting and trying to get us to all reconnect with the earth too. So
Yeah. And going back to the whole big picture message, does it matter really who it comes from? If
right.
that's the message being delivered, and I think that it just comes down to that. Like, what is the actual message that wants to come through?
Right. Because like if you listen to the end words and like what is actually being said and channeled, like you can't really disagree with that. Like you can't disagree with their
Yeah.
sentiment of what they said on just, we have to get back to connecting ourselves to the earth and to Mother Nature. And I really hope that there's a shift that stays there.
Yeah.
Hi, wild ones. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. This episode is sponsored by my clothing brand, Femme Sauvage, and you can find a discount code and link in the description. So check it out. We have a lot of amazing designs, and $5 of the proceeds goes to different charities. So please feel free to check it out and enjoy the rest of the episode. Thanks so much.
Too.
It would be nice, right? That everybody can see how we see nature and the earth and how we're so connected to it.
Yeah, I think more and more people are getting there. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. And then hopefully the people that aren't, that maybe there's a way that we can find that they can connect or, you know, we
Yeah.
can do that. Um, what have what have been like I would love to hear some examples of maybe like some of your wildlife conflict successes too.
Yeah, there's been quite a few. The first big one I had where I was like, oh my gosh, this actually could work. This woman called me and she said, I have rats in my house. They're taking over everything. I don't want to hurt them, but it's getting to that point where like I can hear them in the walls every single night. They're causing chaos. They're eating my wires. She's like, I literally like don't know what to do other than possibly poison them. And so I was kind of like a last ditch effort for her. I was like, okay, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. And I'll kind of just dissect this as best as I can. So when we're reaching out to a large group of animals, generally what I do is reach out to a spokesman or like the leader of the group, basically, to share the messages. And this one rat came forward and he was like, we don't have anywhere else to go because they're taking down our ecosystem, our home. I was like, okay, so you're losing your habitat. Why did you come to this woman's place? And they were like, because we'll know we'll be safe here. Okay, can we urge you to go? And he was like, well, where, right? Where can we go? And so I was like, all right, this is good. This is good. Where can you go? Called this woman up and I said, all right, let's pull up the map. Help me find a safe space. And we'll literally like draw an energy line in the astral plane or on the earth so they can follow it and then find somewhere safe to go. And about 3 days after we showed the rat and his family basically where to go, they were gone. I was
Wow.
like, what? Now, there's a little bit more to the story there. It was, what can we do to encourage you to relocate in the physical? And I was asking the rat this. It's like, what would deter you without harm? And he gave us all sorts of ideas that were like mint and paprika and chili powder. I mean, he gave me a whole host of like natural things to deter them and a step-by-step protocol. Like, this is where she needs to put these different things. So I was like, okay, I'll tell her. And so she had her to-do list. And part of that was to give them 3 days. He's like, I need time to like find all my family members. And they were gone. And she did it. And I think we're about 2 years after the fact. And she's like, I get one coming in every once in a while, and they go pretty quickly. So that she hasn't had a problem since.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my moment where I was like, this actually works. Let's do this again. How can we change the world? And like bring this into, I guess, a common space or approach.
Yeah, because I feel like, I mean, it's also like, what's the harm? Like, it's literally like, what's the harm in at least giving it a shot, you know? Absolutely. And I feel like, rats in general, I think are smarter than a lot of people give them credit for. And I think that that story just highlights like the intelligence of animals in general, and it's cool that you can dive a little bit deeper into that connection with them.
Yeah, yeah, it's been really interesting to see like what works, what doesn't work, why it doesn't work. I just had interesting, I had two beaver cases come up recently. The first one, this woman called me, she said, I've got beavers, they're flooding my house. Like I don't know what to do. And unfortunately, the laws there do not allow you to trap and relocate. It's like the only option you have is to euthanize.
Mm.
And the populations there are quite healthy, if not overpopulated. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Can we try this? Yeah, of course. So we spoke to the beavers, and they're like, yeah, we would love to relocate, but we actually don't know where to go. Similar to the rats. The
Mm.
problem with this situation was because the populations were so large, they couldn't go downstream because there was another beaver family, and they
Sure.
don't generally go upstream or like travel on ground, solid ground, because then they're susceptible to predation.
Right.
And there were other beaver populations. There's like literally wherever we go, we're at risk or we're going to get beaten up because beavers are territorial. Long story short, the beavers eventually just said, all right, we're going to enjoy the days that we have. And when you decide to euthanize us, that is what it is. Like, we have nowhere to go. And that's just the way it is. So that was not successful for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
But then, like 2 weeks ago, literally 2 weeks ago, this woman's family, somebody that she knows, reached out with a similar problem: beavers. I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, is this going to be another failed attempt? But what was really cool about this one was that I am just wrapping up my animal communication course. And I said, hey, students, let's give this a go. Here's what's up. And so I think 4 of my students communicated with this group of beavers. And I kind of checked in, but I was like, let's just see what happens.
Mhm.
And we were on a very strict time frame. It was like, talk to the beavers today. We have about a day before the trapper comes out. And the beavers were like, what's happening? Why? Okay. Tell me again what happens if we stay? So they really wanted to hear like why they couldn't be there and where they could go. We didn't even really talk about where they could relocate to because the ecosystem's a little bit different there. It was a little bit wider, so they had space to relocate.
Mhm.
The trapper came 2 days later and it was like, there's no beavers here. There's like not a soul to see. And fast forward, we're about 7 days in and the beavers have not returned. So they relocated themselves after my students were just like, hey, can you guys leave? So that was amazing. I was like putting off the confetti. I was so excited.
That's amazing. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm sure after having an unsuccessful, story with beavers, it was probably really amazing to feel that excitement of making sure that they were actually safe and they found their way out. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was really cool about that was like my students are still brand new. They haven't been doing this for years like I have, and I was like, you don't have to be a professional to have these conversations. You just have to have like that gateway, that understanding of how it works to get the messages across. So everybody can do this if they just like try.
Right. Yeah. I think that's also very inspiring and cool too, is that if we want to connect, it's there for us. If we just dive a little deeper and hone in and just uh, calm our minds down and are able to find that connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I just I want everybody to be able to at least try, you know?
Yeah. What would you, I guess, like, for somebody that's maybe like first starting to, because I know you have courses and stuff, so I obviously don't want to give too much away, but like if you were to give some advice like to somebody that was like getting starting, what would you give?
I always recommend the first steps to take. Like, if you are just brand new to this whole world of what the heck are you even talking about, the first thing that I would say to do is to really start recognizing your subtle senses. Like, what are your subtle senses and how do they work? Which are often called the clairs, like your inner knowing, your inner seeing, your inner hearing, your inner taste is one. I don't know why that came up, but like those inner inner
Yeah.
ways of communication, just to recognize them and then feel into your own heart space and what your body is telling you on a very intuitive scale. Like that alone will take you really, really far down that path. So I would start there, get to know like where your inner radar is. Do you hear? Do you see? Do you feel? And then kind of diving into the world of meditation, whether that be, there's a lot of different styles of meditation out there. So, like, learning what works for you to really quiet your body and quiet your mind. And once you can kind of put those two combinations together and set your intention to connect with a beaver, your dog, whoever, like, all of those pieces will easily fit together and the communications will begin.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's like so fun. I definitely can't wait to try maybe at home, because one of my favorite things to do is to just sit on my back porch and kind of like listen to the birds um and see, like, especially like because they're migrating right now, to see what's coming up in my backyard. And it's funny because I think like a couple weeks ago I was like sitting there, I was like, it's been weird, the last couple of times I've sat out here, like I just feel like there haven't been like any birds. And then like I guess I was just kind of subconsciously like thinking about it and like, how come they haven't been visiting my yard? I don't know why, but then they did come back, so I feel like that would be something cool to maybe try to focus on next time, is like if I notice that or pick that up, to try to go deeper. And yeah.
Yeah, you should. Just what is the quote? You are not thinking when you're sensing. And so if you have an intuitive hit to ask a question, like ask the question and then sense. Go into that sensory space versus the thinking space, and then it's a lot easier for that information to come in.
Yeah. What and I guess like on the topic of like animals, I know that sometimes there's a little bit of controversy over spirit animals. What, like, I guess, what is your thoughts on spirit animals and that?
I think there's a lot of overlapping of terminology.
Hmm.
Is it a spirit animal? Is it a totem animal? Is it a guide? What actually is it? Right? And
Yeah.
why is it coming to me or is it not? I don't know. I feel like that's a hard space to be. Like, I think we all have guides that are animals. Some of them come in for different reasons, some of them stay there for life. Some of the animals are coming in as messengers from loved ones in spirit. Some of the animals are showing themselves to give you a different kind of message. I don't know. When it comes to spirit animals, like if you feel in your heart that animal is there for you to give you medicine, to give you messages, to give you support, then you're probably right. And that's
Right.
probably their role.
Right. Right. Yeah, because like you are your own best teacher, right? I think that's, trying to
Yeah.
get your own confidence and recognizing that there's nobody's going to feel it other than you inside of yourself. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like spirit animals is an interesting topic because I feel like some people are like, "Oh, that's not appropriate." But I think that, when we look at, like you said, they're so dynamic, the messages that you can receive from animals and like how they come up. And, I like, for me, I love using animals as like an inspiration for my art. So, like, if I see them or feel them, like, I feel like a lot of my first designs, they kind of just popped into my head and I felt like, oh, I kind of feel like the spirit of the animals asking me to draw them or to connect with them. And I feel like that's why it's really important. I don't have them all yet, but I'm trying to align with a charity for each of my animal designs, so it feels like, they gave me a little portion of their energy to be able to connect with them, to draw them. And then it feels like a nice cyclical connection back to be able to give back to them in some way, or at least my own way. Because even with your story about how you said you were trying to find your path in life, I know that you said being on the golf course was like the most connecting thing back, which I found a lot of I found a lot of similarities in our stories, but in different ways. Like in my other life, I guess you would say, I'm a notary, but I feel like because of that, I took a lot of interest in being able to just talk to people and hear their stories when we were just doing their documents or whatever. And I also feel like because I wasn't giving any creative energy to that, like all of my creative energy could go towards this business. And you know, I graduated with a degree in English and fashion, but I think kind of like you said in your story that it just didn't sit right with me. So, and I was never great at science or math. So being in biology or a vet wasn't connecting with me either. So I guess this is my way of trying to connect or bring a spotlight to animals and nature. And that, like, I think that you're an inspiration too, because it shows that there are other pathways to be able to connect uh, with nature. So it's nice.
Yeah. I feel like maybe things are changing now, but I do love to hear a little bit of your story too. You're like, this just doesn't fit. Where do I go? What do I do? How can I give back? I feel like a lot of us just don't fit in those categorical jobs that are presented to us when we're younger. Like, go be a vet, go into biology, go do this, or this. It's like,
Yeah.
but that doesn't actually work for me. So,
Yeah.
I literally sent a message to somebody today who's kind of going through the exact same thing. She's like, I have this PhD opportunity, but it doesn't feel right. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was like, sometimes we have to scan the horizon for that path that is literally covered in brambles. And we have to
Yeah.
forge our own. We have to find it and uncover it. And it's like not going to be the one that's blatantly obvious, the one that's that everyone is pushing us down. And that to me is like so many people that come into my life say the exact same thing. They're like, we don't know where we fit in, but somebody else is
Right.
doing something weird, and that gives me the power to maybe do it too. And I'm like, good, go
Yeah.
forge your own path.
I feel like I think that, everybody has their importance. And I think that's why I specifically like the phrase find your wild, because it's what the wild is like for you inside of you. It's not necessarily like, being wild and crazy. It's also what's your own nature, to try to find that. And I think when people connect to their own nature and their own inner healing, then that just gives forth to doing that outwardly as well. So I hope that girl you messaged that, she finds her wild and her
Yeah.
path. And I think that
Yeah.
yeah.
I really believe that too. We're all here to give a gift of something back, and it's like you have to find it within yourself first and then just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously there's nothing wrong with being a vet or biologist. Obviously,
Right.
if I could, if I could, I would love to be that. But I think that, some people are just meant to
Yeah.
connect differently. So, and it's cool to see your path because there's nothing wrong with it. And I think obviously there's pros and cons to living in our time now, but I think that, just trying to maybe stay positive is that it is cool that people can start their own YouTube channels and that there is Instagram and TikTok to be able to have those channels for people to have their passions. Because I think that the more people express themselves and are opening their heart chakras and they're able to heal themselves, the more that people are themselves, the less they're going to be outwardly fighting other people, right? So, or at least
Mm,
that's how I think of it.
yes, I completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess what are some, I like to change topic a little bit, but uh what are some spirits that I know you have the tree spirits that you like to connect with. I think plants are definitely not my strong suit, but what are some of like your favorite like tree energies that you like to work with?
Oh, the trees. I'm gonna totally geek out.
Good, good.
Oh, so funny. I'm in the middle of creating a whole tree thing, so like the tree beings are all up in my space right now. The trees that give me the most inspiration are cedar trees, grand fir, and then my good friend who is a Douglas fir. So those are kind of the ones that come into my space the most. But more and more of them are starting to kind of inspire me, like the aspens. I love the aspens. And deciduous trees versus evergreen trees are kind of unique and in their own category. So it's hard for me to narrow it down.
So
I
they're
love
all
them all.
coming to work with you
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah, yeah, which is really cool. I mean, I'm really just connecting right now with the ones within my own ecosystem,
Yeah.
and that's enough for right now.
It seems like it's enough. They seem like they're definitely, there's a lot of them calling out to you, and I'm sure they have a lot of messages.
They do, they do. But I really do love the evergreens. They to me just feel on a soul resonance like that's my connection right there with those kinds.
Yeah, evergreens are so beautiful. I have like a couple of pine trees in my backyard, but they're very sporadically placed. So, um, yeah, but they're beautiful. Every time I see them, I'm like, oh, they're so pretty too.
Yeah, they
Um,
really
yeah, when you connect to tree energy, like as someone who maybe is a beginner, like if I want to go sit in my backyard and try to connect with the trees in my backyard, like what would your recommendation be?
I think the first thing that I always recommend is I'm not a hugger, okay? So I'm not like go up and hug your tree. I
Yeah.
actually think that does a disservice to like the connection of energy. It almost
Mm.
like takes the relationship too fast. It almost like squishes the energy and neutralizes it. So if I were to say go talk to your trees outside or connect in with them, I would have you either stand about 5 to 10 feet away from their base of the trunk and sit or stand with like your heart facing them, and then take your attention into your heart space and gently send it out to them as if you're like sending a bubble of love, if you will, or like a hug in a very soft way, and see what happens. Going back to those subtle senses, like, do you feel a pressure or are you having an emotional something come through you? A lot of people do that and they start crying because they're like, oh my God, it's just so beautiful. I'm like, I know. So that's where I would recommend starting. Like,
Very
feel for
cool.
those subtle senses when you do that and just be in the present moment. Because when we're at that space, that 5 to 10 foot space, we're standing over their roots. We're
Mhm.
usually within their auric field or their energy field, and we're connecting at the heart to heart center. That's what I would do to start.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it's so nice that you say like that you're not like a tree hugger, like you have to build up to that because it's a respect also of like, you know, the tree space, and I'm sure you feel the same way obviously with animals. Like, you don't need to, be all up in their personal space to be able to connect with them, or break that kind of like respectful barrier, right?
Yeah, yeah. I really do try to ask permission, and if they want to connect, great. Sometimes they don't, and that's fine.
Mm.
I'm never going to push my connection on them.
Yeah.
But the more respect that we show them, the more likely they're willing to connect. And honestly, I have so many students that are they start there and then all of a sudden they're like, I ended up hugging the tree at the end, or like laying curled up around its trunk. And I'm like, yeah, because that's a natural progression. You have to get to know the tree first.
Right. Right. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I just like love the sentiment behind that, and I can't wait to connect with the trees in my backyard, because there's like a pine and then there's this really, really tall tree. It's just over my neighbor's fence, but it kind of like comes into my yard, and it brings us all this big shade. And initially when we first moved in, we were like, "Oh my God, that's blocking all of our shade." But now the more that I'm, because we're in a very shady area, so it makes our backyard very muddy or whatever. But the more I've lived here, the more I'm like, oh, I love that tree, and like, seeing the seasons on the tree, and even if somebody, I guess, were to take a look, and I know, like you said, when you first started, that you were kind of very reluctant to with every step, but I think that it's like a great way to also, like you said, be in the present moment too, like to help us connect more in the present moment. And I think that's also, back to like science, like what that shows, like with forest bathing and um, those kind of other things, is it shows us that being in the present moment in nature is very healing for us. And I think that it's a really great way to try to do that, is to do it with intent and with our hearts too.
100%. You got it. I love that.
Yeah. What would you say like your most surprising like animal connection like is, or like what surprising message or fun message that you've gotten from an animal that you're like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that."
Oh my goodness, let me think. Every time I talk to an animal, something comes up.
It's always exciting.
I know, like what's gonna come next? I think I goodness gracious, let me think. I think what's always really surprising for me is when animals communicate the bigger picture. Yeah, animals are so soulful, and they always like to talk about that bigger picture. And some of them get really out there. Some of them like to talk about like light codes and the current state of ascension. And so I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I'm going to need you to break that down just a little bit more for me. But it's always so interesting how they talk about light codes and unicorns and all these other beings. And I'm always like, that's what always to me is like, really? That is so cool. Because I don't know, I guess your average animal communicator is not going to be like, yeah, so this dog was talking about fairies today. But that's like my world. Like, yeah, so this dog is having a problem because of the fairies. This cat is having a problem because like her mom's grandma's ghost is in the house. I'm like, okay, what? Not terribly inspirational, but it always makes me like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, it just goes to show that it's like you're not a it's you can't go in expecting a certain thing. That's what's coming up, right? So, um but yeah, I really connected to the part of your story also about your horse that passed away in the beginning. I have a horse. He's like 20 something. I don't know his exact age, but I got a call a couple of months ago that they don't think he's going to make it through the winter. So I've been having a very, very hard time. Yesterday, I just went up to go see him, and his legs have just been so uncomfortable. Like, he's just got very bad arthritis, and he kept like going back and forth to lean forward to have his say, and I've been in a very hard place to know when is the right time, and I think that's such a resonating thing for a lot of people is when is the right time, right? And you've unfortunately had to do that with a lot of animals. So what I guess like your advice on for people that are looking to let go, like what's the best thing to do?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this.
Thank you. Yeah, his name is
Because
Raphael. He's a 17 and a half quarter horse paint, and he's just amazing, beautiful, sassy, but yeah, it's hard. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. What would I say? I would say, no matter what the scenario or situation, listen to your own intuitive guidance. We go through that. Is it right? Is it not right? Is it time? Is it not time? How does the animal feel? In the end, in the end, the animals don't want to leave us with any trauma, and they trust us to make decisions on their behalf. We never wait too long. We never make that call too soon. It's always right for them. So that's just one thing I want to say is like of years of doing afterlife sessions and end of life sessions, no matter what it looks like from our physical perspective, they're always honored to be part of the process and they trust us with literally their life. So if
yeah.
your heart says today is not the day, but maybe tomorrow could be, listen to that. Listen to your inner wisdom because that's how they're communicating with you is through that intuitive level. It might not be a direct, like, full on conversation, but if you get quiet and you really look at them and ask, is it today? Is it tomorrow? You're gonna know. And usually, like, if you're in that space of just surrendering to what they want and need, you're gonna get guided by them. So just listen to your heart, and it will always be exactly as it should be.
Yeah, because I think especially with horses, it's so hard. Like specifically with him, he went really downhill and then he popped right back up, and then he was fine for a little bit, and then the other day he was limping, but then he was fine, and then yesterday I went up and I noticed. So it is like you said, it's like that. Oh, it's not today, but could it be tomorrow, or could it be next week, or it's definitely a hard decision that you can't do it too soon, or you don't want to do it too late because you're also looking for the best for them too. You don't want them to suffer.
Yeah, I hear you. I always like physical tells. Like, when you look in their eyes, you can see their soul and
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
sparkle. It's like when they really start to fade, go within or withdraw, and you're like, I don't see your sparkle or soul anymore. Like, we're there. That's kind of my
Yeah.
tell. My goat
Yeah.
recently, one of the two that just recently passed,
I'm
I
so
was in a
sorry.
similar. Thank you. Yeah, we're all in this together, right?
Yeah. Not
um,
easy.
he I had been watching him. Like, I know you're on my radar. Like, we're watching, and I can communicate with him, but it doesn't make it that clear cut. And
Yeah.
I was like, not today, not today, but we're close. And then the day that we decided to put him down, it was the day I was like, you're gone. Your soul is not. Like, you're
It's
already
ready to go.
energetically detaching. You are not sparkling anymore. It's like, we're good here. And
Yeah.
I literally waited as long as I could for him to give me the cues, and there was no doubt in my mind.
You did it at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't
But
always work that way, though. I know that. That's like best case scenario, truly.
yeah. Yeah. It doesn't always work that way. And I guess like life and death is I think you appreciate more when it does go right, or when you are there for them, or when you can be, because it's very hard when, something happens and you're not there for your animal too.
Yeah.
I hear stories of people that are like, I just wish that I could have been there with them, or if accidents happen, or you feel like they have gone too soon. Um, I know that they're always around us though, right? They always, I know that's something you could probably say.
Yeah, I have a lot of spirit animals out there helping me, and some of them come and check in regularly, and some of them I'm like, "Hey, I haven't talked to you for a while. How are you?" And they're like off doing whatever they're doing. So they're around if we want them to be. Yeah.
And I'm sure they feel if we need them, right?
hmm Always. Oh yeah. We are literally always forever connected to anything that we love. That connection will never be severed.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I resonate with that so much.
Yeah.
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 I feel like that's like such a beautiful place to end this beautiful chat session too. Just maybe like tell people a little bit more about where they can find you and what are some of your courses and things that you have and other ways to get in touch.
Sure. So my formal website is just deeprootconnections.com. That has all of my offerings, which I have a couple of on-demand programs right now, like Nature and Angels. What's the other one? I don't even remember the other one. Oh yeah, Guardians of the Land, which is kind of like the nature spirits. There's I'm in the process of creating this whole tree communication program. I literally am so excited. I cannot hold it in. So I'm trying to create that. I'm hoping to have that ready in 2 weeks. We'll see, weather permitting. I still have some
Awesome.
videos to take, but so that is kind of right now what is available. All of my bookings are closed until 2025. I'm totally full, booked out. But otherwise, just come hang out with me on Instagram. That's like my place. That's where I share the most, and that's how you can kind of keep in touch.
Yeah, I love your Instagram like posts and even when you're just talking, I feel like you even learn a lot just from, scrolling on your Instagram, which is really nice. So, and then you also have a podcast as well where you sometimes talk about some of the things that you post on Instagram, right?
Yeah, that's brand new. I'm trying to be
Cool.
consistent. I know. I do that. I start projects and then I'm like, oh yeah, I started that one. So yes, and my goal with that is to expand what I'm learning and sharing on Instagram and bring it into like the full picture view. So I am there. It's just a slow process.
Yeah. And the trees I think are taking up a lot of your time too, right?
They are. Yeah, but it's good. It's really good.
Awesome. Well, Cara, thank you so much again for making the time to connect with me and to share some of your beautiful wisdom with all of us. And I hope that we can maybe do this again because it was great and so insightful.
Oh, well, my pleasure. And it is such an honor to meet you and connect also. So thank you.
Thank you. And we'll catch you on the next one, Wild Ones. So
I feel
thank
the
you so
howl
much.
of
Bye.
the wind as it dances with me in the flames. Every time I go into battle, I know that I will win. It's my certainty that brings me into balance.